Salem, 12.
I did it to Laura.
Now it's tea.
Your dance is beautiful. You start taping.
That would be the only way that I would.
But I did do it, not that person.
Now, you have to get in the shot.
Okay, guys, we gotta get going. Okay, guys, go on.
Go.
Okay, that's fine.
3, 2, 1, action.
Salem witch trials. Oh, is this one? Yes. Salem witch trials. So the Salem witch trials started being witch trials in 1692 with being accusation of witches. So generally, the state of Massachusetts would accuse women or families of committing witchcraft. Because they had the symptoms of bewitchment. So the first symptoms of bewitchment were such things as tingling, hallucinations, painful muscular contractions, vomiting, diarrhea, and more specifically, mania. So it basically means they started acting possessed of it. And that's what, since the lack of science and everything, they interpreted as being bewitched.
Okay, so essentially the public hanging, something that we can see also in the book, in the novel. As we can see with the Harvard wall, it's the exact same thing that would happen at Gallows Hills, where they would basically just hang people to scare the others. So that was the exact same technique that was used in the novel. So the Salem witch trials happened in Massachusetts, and as we know, it's the exact same, it's around the same area as the Republic of Gilead in the novel. So there we have, just like in the Republic of Gilead, a huge religious communities. Until today, at least 45% of the community is Catholic or Christian and Puritans. And so yeah, and we have the Harvard that comes again with the idea of the Harvard walls and the hangings. And there, the power of religion against women, by that we mean that all women were accused of being, not all women were accused of being witch trials, but of being witches, but if you would show a certain behavior and you were a woman, you would automatically be treated as a witch. And just like in the novel, it's all the laws are based on religion and things like that. And witchcraft is not accepted. Witchcraft, in a way, is kind of like what sexual things are in the novel, where it's very limited.
Okay, so the entire event of the Salem witch trials happened within 4 months. So Bridget Bishop being the first one in June, and then it dwindling out towards September and October when other states or villages got involved at that point, saying that this was a bit crazy to be hanging over 20 people and chasing and most fleeing from their families from Massachusetts, Salem, because their families were accused of witchcraft. So once a family was accused, the entire line was accused, all the men, everything, but it was because they saw a woman first, so that she poisoned and stuff the entire family. So they were forced to move out. So it dwindled towards September, October when the others got involved, other states got involved, saying that this was ludicrous and that they had to abolish the witchcraft laws, which are in themselves quite vague, seeing that it's any woman that was accused of committing the act of witchcraft or being a witch. This the hysteria that comes with it was in 4 months, where there were new professions such as witch hunters who would go out in different villages, find the women, listen to rumors, basically in the movies, where they would hunt down witches and get them to be hung through a court system that was apparently fair. As again, 20 plus dead were also hung on Gallows Hills, except for one who was kept in prison and died of maltreatment or something. And then the countless were fleed. So this hysteria and mob mentality, this idea that everyone would accuse women all of a sudden they are witches. Everyone could be a suspect. Everyone could commit witchcraft. And in 4 months, to have this period of everyone being suspicious and being sometimes crazy or during witch hunt, it kind of reflects some of the states that you find in salvagings and one after after that. Great.
No, participation.
Persecution, where everyone goes crazy over something that's not supposed to be crazy in some terms, like witches. It's kind of fictional, so this is a bit step further, but is this idea of mob mentality, hysteria, accuse everyone's. Fourth is women as weapons. So the whole hysteria and mob mentality also turned women against each other, no longer having this fraternal sense between each other. There was many snitches that would just, if you didn't like somebody, you'd call them a witch and get them hung, basically. So no evidence was very necessary, and we can compare those to the eyes in terms of where they're integrated to society, and they will turn on you no matter what, just as Offred, I believe, Glenn was an eye, and that they were in the Mayday. So that leads to conspiracy theories. So it was these rumors of all witch villages, and witchcraft being rampant through different villages, saying that you can escape, you can be free. And some women actually went as far as claiming to be witches avidly and confessed their sins, saying that they were witches and they were proud of it, and they hung for that confession. But that idea of belonging to the group, such as Mayday, is reinforcement of power within women. So on two sides, there was women as weapon against each other. Those who were the witches, who were claiming themselves for their power and their strength and being a witch, and those who would accuse others, saying that they're sinners or part of the devils, witches, and witchcraft. And that would lead to the refugees running away from runaway witches, and they can be compared to Jezebels, whereas Jezebels would be the cult of witches that ran away, that made it free, that they're somewhat strong, you can say. So next we go into somewhat a present tense. The definition of witch by Merriam-Webster, I believe. The first definition is a woman, click the thing, a woman who is thought to have magic powers. Fake. It's supposed to light up red. A person who practices magic as a part of religion, such as Wicca. And then the third one is a very unpleasant woman. So the first definition of a witch, modern day, has the word woman. That is basically slander against all women. You can only be a witch if you're a woman. There's not many other supernatural causes that you have to be a man. Second one, a person who practices magic Wicca. I believe that's the more liberal state where you try to not victimize women or accuse women. And the third is just blatant, a very unpleasant woman. This relates to the witch as being a term of generally hatred against women. There's no positive connotation with witch, and it's almost directly associated with women. And that most of you, as soon as you hear witch, you think of a lady on a broom. So that shows that even to this day, the connotation of witch, which to some extent was really emphasized during the witch trials, is a negative woman. A woman, for what reason do we hate her? Only because she has powers, who has magic powers, and for some reason has to be killed. There's no substance to hate the woman within the definition, but yet witch is seen as evil.
Okay, so now time for our question. So we'll start with our first one. Why are religious communities, such as Salem or Gilead, afraid of women? Why do you guys think they're afraid?
Women in power.
Women in power. Diego?
Well, I guess they want to, like, in old times, it was always the man who was in charge, so they want to keep things the same, like traditionally, and they don't want women like rising or like having a modern society. And here they're like going back again to a patriarchal society where man is still like the ruler, and the women have like no privileges or freedom.
Okay, yeah, you're not responding to his question.
Okay, yeah. So
that wasn't a question. No, I answered.
That wasn't.
Yeah, I
Oh,
know,
okay, okay.
but they gave you like zero feedback, so I was just
okay.
wondering.
Yes.
Johan.
Okay, so I see what you mean, but then again, Gilead is supposed to be a society in the future. And in today's society, women are coming up. Like feminism is rising and things like that. So why do you think that Atwood would show in the future that like women are back to where they were in the past?
Well, change happens very slowly, and people tend to not like that. They want the change to happen quicker than it actually does. And since the book, The Handmaid's Tale, is a dystopia which will show you the worst that can happen if you don't change quickly what will happen, that's the message that Margaret Atwood's trying to deliver. Like, change things quicker and give women more power, equal power, so that we wouldn't reach that point in the book where women are basically sex slaves.
I see what you mean, but just like Michael just said, I kind of disagree. 'Cause I don't
It's Michael.
Elaborate, Michael.
because, as you said, you're saying that we don't like. The idea is right now. Here's what I'm saying. Right now in our society, women are coming up, and like feminism is rising. Okay, we can all agree on that. But why would she? Okay, it's rising. But why would she, as a woman in the first place, portray women as they used to be in the past, with no power and being slaves, as you said, sex slaves and things like that? Why do you guys think she does that?
What she did in the book is not going. She made a society where we don't go further, we don't develop, but we go back. So she tried to see what if we bring back the old customs in the old society, what will happen? And then at the same time, I wouldn't say that she didn't give women any powers. Yes, she did. And women are responsible for other women. Men have almost no power over women. It's only women who can talk to women, who can teach them, who can give them values like the ants. So I would say that they're not afraid of them, as in they don't give them power. They're afraid that they'll be the head of the society.
One of the first things they did when transforming Gilead was to take away their basic rights to money and jobs. Those are things that keep them in a social circle, not submissive to the man. That's when, as we see, we talked about, I'll take care of you. She then becomes subordinate to the man. She is no longer in control of herself. Like the women in charge of women, that's again fear of having a man teach a woman. Like you're not supposed. There's not supposed to be contact because they're afraid of to be sin or you can't control men. That's where they're not blaming men at all. They don't want women to be in contact with men because of tempt.
Just to answer your question, and maybe this will help develop the response to the question a little bit more. Can you guys tell me why, like, what behavior was considered dangerous or suspicious or inappropriate according to the Puritans? What made them be, targets to that accusation of witchcraft? I'm asking you because you guys.
Okay, so basically it's in that society of Puritans, the women are still, it's less of, the women in some terms give they concede their power, they don't necessarily demand for it, so it's not like they want a revolution. So it's any woman who has any sort of power who's looking against God to some extent, because witchcraft is associated with the devil and everything. So like it's any woman going against God, getting power from it, being outspoken, being contributed member, or being a problem to some extent of any man imposing power. So it's any woman combating for that same power.
I'm not sure.
Well, Puritans,
what
like witches or
I'm
sex?
talking about the Puritans. Why were certain Puritan women targeted as witches? What did they do that said, you know what, you're a witch?
They defied the laws
Doing
of
what?
God.
Hands up. Hands up. What did they do? Yes.
Defied religion, Old Testament.
Sorry?
They defied the Old
They
Testament.
defied the religion.
Not necessarily.
It's so important.
Yeah, they were Puritans. Okay, maybe it's about going back even further.
Cavemen.
Who were Puritans? What defined them? And you kind of like glazed over it. You said, oh, they're Christians and Catholics and a bunch of that. But they're not. Like, yes, they're perhaps it's founded in Christianity, but they are definitely separate from Catholics. Okay? What were Puritans?
Didn't they hang
Michael.
Aren't they the ones who only follow what the Bible said and nothing?
Okay, very precise, exactly what the Bible said. Keep going.
It becomes like a sect to some extent of
Yes.
Puritans, so, and especially their war, grapes, whatever. It's like the Thanksgiving. how we see like the blinds, they almost have blinds on their face, just like the veils for the women. It's covered up completely. It's very to the book, they dedicated to God and anything for God. And they would go in before nightfall. They would only hunt at certain times. It was very, almost a sect. If someone from like a third party saw that, they could be accused of witches. They seemed like witches by themselves.
Okay.
And
keep going.
since they were going by the Bible and things like that, as soon as they would see things like hallucinations, painfulness, like painful diarrhea, vomiting, it seemed very weird to them.
No,
So
but
in
those
their,
are symptoms of witchcraft. I'm just talking about Puritans.
oh, you just want,
I want Puritans first. Like, what makes them different from everybody else? Because they separated from the Church of, like the Anglican Church of England,
They want to.
because they did not believe exactly what the Anglicans believe. Okay?
They formed the church under Queen Elizabeth's name by following the Old Testament.
Okay. And what did that mean? What did the Old Testament kind of?
More strict, more.
Much more strict. Now here, like, these are things you have to get. Like, the term Puritans
Just adds more
has
to
the
it.
term pure in it. And so what they believe,
They take
okay,
it
is
literally.
based on, like this whole concept of Calvinism, that there is evil in the world, and evil, we must search it out.
And that's why they
Okay? That we must search it out, and therefore we must act pure. So things that were impure, color in clothing. I'm serious, okay? So any kind of bright colors, non-acceptable.
Mixing two fabrics.
Okay.
or something.
Dancing, music,
Oh, Isabel, you're
impure.
rich.
That's not very conservative, right?
Theater.
Theater.
That was a problem with
Reading.
Howard, I remember.
Get that rave on.
Like, and it's very
Anything you
Sexist,
enjoy yourself
yes.
with.
It's very interesting because
Probably does that.
American society, many of the lawmakers that helped build America were Puritans, okay? But they were men, okay? So it's not like they were uneducated. They were quite educated, okay? But it was specifically limited to a certain group, and I'm gonna say even sex, okay?
That's why I agree with you, and that's why I don't think it's like this community, they weren't afraid of women, they were just following their, like, what they believe religiously.
I disagree.
So now, this is what I want to, we're going backwards because I need you to go backwards to take these proper steps forward. So these Puritans who believed that dancing and singing and bright clothes and, you know, following, like even their language was very strict, okay? Strictly, like very conservative, okay? If you did not follow those rules, then you were considered perhaps an outcast. And so if you even do a little bit more research, the women that they initially targeted as witches, they were not women in power. They were the outcasts of society. They were women who were unmarried. Okay? You'd be like, why aren't you getting married? Why aren't you following what you're supposed to be doing? They were unmarried. They lived kind of like on the outskirts of town. Didn't necessarily fit into that society. Okay? So because they were already outcasted, then this mania, you're right, this hysteria kind of took over, and initially those women were accused, okay? Following that,
There's an appointment at your o'clock.
I'm filming? My mother inside a consent
Okay.
form. Okay? I'm
hello,
gonna sue you.
go.
just to bring back to what you said, and we saw, we were reading an article, and it was this lady named Tutuba,
Tituba, the Caribbean slave witch.
and
Yes.
she was a slave, and she's one of the first people to have confessed, because she thought they would cut her in jail and things like that.
Yes,
But like, that's just the idea of not targeting women in power.
yes. And specifically, she was a slave, she was black, okay? In a Puritan society, and she initially gets targeted as a witch.
Yeah.
Because, again, you're right, she's not part of society, she's an outcast, okay? So what I hope you're seeing is that Puritans were already kind of like veering away from the, like, the bigger majority of Christian society, because they were so extreme. Do we see that in their Puritan views? That's why essentially they left the Church of England and moved to New England, America, to start their own, to kind of have their own place, okay? And so as I said, initially it's these outcasts, but eventually hysteria took over, and then they started accusing anybody. And it's like, it got to a point where they were accusing neighbors of witchcraft in order to steal land and things like that. It kind of went overboard, okay? That's something else to say.
So like the idea is they're almost like very stereotypical, and like if you don't fit the stereotypes, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
And that thing wrong with you, they blame it on witchcraft, because it was the easiest thing to do.
Yes.
You're a woman, you're not like high in the society, there's something weird with you, you're a witch.
Okay?
We go, we
And
handle
also
it. That was the idea.
religion.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
I like
I want you to
religion.
go back, think about who the witches are in The Handmaid's Tale. They are also the outcasted people. Like, who is a witch in The Handmaid's Tale? Think about it.
Gender traders.
Moira, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She completely doesn't fit in.
But she got the choice, right, to be.
Yeah, the
when she
gender
got caught.
On woman and
Right?
Jezebel.
Yeah,
Call
it's
it a
very-
choice, sure.
It's not.
If you call it
Everybody
a choice.
has a choice.
Well, yeah,
Even
like,
slaves have a
whether
choice.
it's, like,
Slavery or
a
death.
stripper, you like become an like you become outcast into the colony, right?
Right, but she was already outcasted.
She was.
Because
She was to be inside.
she was a
She
lesbian.
like she like ran away.
Okay? Same thing with, think about it. Okay? Like, Offred's marriage was not really considered a marriage
It's like a
in
sec-
this society
divorce, you gotta
because she had an affair with Luke.
Mm.
Okay? And therefore, she's already kind of been outcasted. Do we see that? Okay? And so those are the kind of parallels, and I hope you're understanding that Atwood then uses Salem, Massachusetts, or Massachusetts here, as this historical illusion, and that therefore serves as integral in terms of developing the setting. Look at what all, like, history says that this is the place where they used to hang and torture and punish outcasted women.
This is why you said.
History is repeating itself in the same place. Do we see that?
This is why you said that
Okay.
Massachusetts was a better setting. Right?
Yes. Okay?
I listened to you words.
Do we know who the enemies of the Puritans were?
Lesbians.
No. Well, sure.
Yeah.
What else? Who else? Okay, so Catholic, Christian, maybe Anglicans. I don't know if they were enemies, but it was, they just didn't feel, it wasn't like viable, like enemies. It was just, that's what they originally, they felt persecuted and therefore they kind of segregated off. But who were the actual enemies of Puritans once they got to, like, yes,
Say it louder, please.
Say it louder.
okay? Native Americans, okay? Who else? I don't know if you're gonna know this, this is historical.
Wait, repeat.
They were mentioned in the book,
Black people.
starts with a Q.
Queers. Queers. Quakers.
Quaker.
Almost.
Quaker. Yeah.
What's the point? I want oatmeal.
Wait, they all have
With hats? You want like any person wearing
Picture the Quaker
What
Oats
does this
guy.
have to do with,
Yeah,
What does this have to do with?
like, they're enemies, yeah.
So, if you notice in the novel, they're also their enemies.
Is that my
Anyone?
Yeah, because it doesn't take anymore. Right?
Yeah, like any kind of race that is not theirs. So, for instance,
Can we just say society itself?
Children of
like
Ham.
Martha's Children of Ham, people who are not necessarily white, Catholics, everybody else is an enemy. And they actually named the Quakers as the people who were taking over Florida, remember? Okay? Yes?
To a certain point, isn't anyone in the society their enemy? Because like,
So certain point
everyone,
isn't
like,
even-
in their society that does not fit as Puritans is their enemy. It's not necessarily a group, it's just everyone in general. Society, like they see society as being the enemy, as in we have to live like this, by these rules, doing this and this, and people that don't listen to it.
Now, yeah, and then the thing is that you could see other people as being different and maybe not necessarily, I don't want to use the word tolerant, but like, that's them, we'll just state art. But like, when I'm talking about real enemies,
They
like
search them out to
they
kill them.
searched them out, like they searched out Native Americans and would have these massacres, like they would have wars between them. Same thing with the Quakers, like there were wars between them. That's what I mean by real enemies, okay? Versus Anglican Church of England, we didn't agree with you, but we're not gonna go out and like kill you. Okay, yes. So Quakers were like a different sect, okay, if you want to call them a sect as well, that again broke off from the church. And I'm gonna say I don't know like a huge part of the history behind it, but sorry, they're more libertarian much less conservative. Okay. Go, keep going.
My question.
Can we go next?
Diego?
I'm gonna give them 4 more minutes. I want that second question. I want that second question.
Yo-yo.
Well, like, don't, like,
Go.
can we?
Okay, so second question. In what way has the fear of women in power helped shape Gilead? Yes and no. Never?
Never.
A great example would be Serena Joy, who thought she wanted it, but then discovered that once it happened, this is a very terrible life that she's living without any power whatsoever. So she kept giving speeches to support the Republic of Gilead and being like, yeah, Gilead, go. And then when it happened, it was very deceiving.
So it's the whole idea, like Puritan mentality, that those are the founding fathers of Gilead, just like they basically are Puritans. They take the Bible too hard and they even lock it up because they're afraid that there is too much truth. Like they haven't interpreted it the right way. So it's the same founders of Puritan society that should come back and found this one.
Yeah. Now notice that's a huge thing to get. Okay? Puritans, like real Puritans, were the founding fathers of America. They helped build American laws and the
Why aren't they called
Constitution.
mothers?
Okay?
Oh.
Gilead commanders, okay, are like trying to be the founding fathers of this
They
nation.
killed off the original one.
That's right, okay? In order to save this new world against all of the possible evil that is out there. Okay? Yes?
Also in a religious point of view, like in the Bible, especially Old Testament, who has the power? Man. So like the idea of not wanting women to have power could also be linked to the Bible, which is the entire idea of Gilead and how they come and their rules are based on the Bible.
Guys? Karen?
Also, if we're gonna base it on the Bible, like usually, like he was the one that helped, like he Adam sin, like usually, like the women are like who introduced them. So
Yeah.
like, children up, you're afraid of them.
Yeah. Women are the, seducers, right?
Genesis, the third lady that exists is Lilith, and she's basically, they've outcast her from Eden, la première femme, première Adam, avant Ève. She's the first woman, and she basically is the first witch. She's mostly in Jewish mythology, but she's basically the sign of all evil, and she was the personification of Satan, or Lucifer before.
Yeah.
The first witness in the book of Revelation.
Lilith. Rein des Sutures.
We're getting videos.
Google that.
I said you're not. Like,
Diego, last thought. Guys,
I forgot because everybody started talking.
And yeah, I have ADD.
really?
Oh yeah, no. What? Like you're talking about like being seductive and everything. Like, sorry, seductive. Shut up. You know when Alfred said in the book, she's like, if only like we could, like in, I think it was like, yeah,